pledges allegiance to the flag, and then we'll go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome. Today we're meeting, this is our usual time for a meeting, and we are going to go through the voluminous, extensive Greenman-Peterson report they're putting together as part of the application for, not the implementation, but the, it's for a federal grant. It's like a $200,000 grant. And they have to have certain things, as I realized, I don't know how many of you went through it, but certain things, T's to cross and I's to dot in terms of having this thing be appropriate to be considered for the grant. If that grant comes through, then the implementation grant can then be applied for, which would be to do the projects that they're outlining. So I'm saying this for you guys too. So, and so we've got a lot to go through, and I think that's our primary intent today in terms of, I don't think we can get on any other topics. We've got to have this done by September 24th, is that correct?
No, September, yeah, a couple weeks before the next meeting.
Right, yeah. So I think I read something, he just emailed, David Kuhn just emailed us yesterday, and gave us the minutes for the last meeting we had.
Great.
Terry, I was just wondering why you don't create minutes like that. I'm just teasing.
Well, no, I'm just gonna close your eyes and take them.
So if you do speak, turn your mic on, and then, or just leave them on, and then we're free to do it. So we can start by, I made some notes as I went through it, but Terry, you,
Trying to get it back.
okay. Let's see if I can do this. Final draft. I can't get rid of this thing. Anyway.
Why don't we just, while I'm doing this, go ahead and have our guests here, if, in a nutshell, they can give us the reason why they're here.
Yes.
Just some pointers.
Yeah, we can save you some time.
Most likely, we will probably be discussing it, but it would be good for, if you're here, to just give us your reason why you're here.
You want to get to the mic, grab the mic, and, I mean, you're welcome to stay. Hmm? Okay,
Okay,
great.
that's good.
Watch the committee.
Okay,
Good.
work.
perfect.
That's it. I don't have anything to actually contribute to what they're working
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
you-
great.
on. I wanted to see.
All right,
That's
that's
fine.
good. You're here representing West Cape, Maine.
Well, I was invited by George at Old Truck meeting on Friday, suggested if you want to attend.
Use your, turn on your mic.
Friday at the county, and they suggested if you want to attend, there was just that you guys were doing a bike path thing. And I was reminded on Friday, so, and then also George said that anybody can come.
Yep, that's great.
So I just figured being from Jersey City, this bike thing has been done, it's been going on for many years in the inner cities. They've been pushing bikes, especially Jersey City, New York City. So I have some experience in a lot of streets being converted and all difficulties and things like that. So it's challenging, but it's rewarding. So it's a good thing that you guys are doing this.
Very good, thank you.
Well, it's great to have an advocate for bike, because a lot of people just say, no, the bike shouldn't be here, you know, and it's, yeah.
And- Sure.
Hi, John Fusco. I live in West Cape, May, and full-time resident. And yeah, same thing. I was at the Environmental Commission meeting last week in West Cape, May. I'm also a biker. I biked here myself, and same thing. Interested, want to support however I can, but just kind of want to learn today and see how I can contribute or anything.
All right, thank you. Thanks for coming.
I'm not pulling this. Why don't we just, did you, everybody went through, I'm assuming everyone went through what nuts they have. At this point, I'm just going to have to, because Dave's not, Paul's not here. The police chief was here, but they left us. All right, well, I'm just going to pull up the, I was hoping to PDF it and make some changes, but I don't know how we want to go through there. Is the easiest thing possibly to go through the minutes, their minutes, and rather than this lengthy,
I think we can have a general discussion about how they approached it and their primary, their three areas of concentration, and decide if they were appropriate or not, or make comments on those. For instance, I know that their number one spot is the Bank Decatur Lafayette intersection.
right, it's that whole area,
Yeah.
Elmira and.
Well, no, so Elmira's number 2,
Okay,
and then number 3 was, let's see if I can remember that one. Was that Perry? Yeah. I should have made better notes. I can't-
well. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I went through the thing and I just made some notes. I don't, Hillary put her input in here as well. I'm not going to do the PDF thing, but I think if anybody else has notes that we can talk about, is trying to go through this thing quickly. If you want to, if we can start going down, you have your laptop in front of me, I do too. Just going through everybody go through their notes that they have, and we can comment on that.
Could I make just a general comment?
Yeah.
Overall?
Yeah, yeah.
And again, I scanned through it. I didn't read it word for word, but I picked up a lot from the last meeting. The emphasis seems to be very on the physical aspects of the roads, the bike paths, et cetera. And I didn't, in my opinion, I didn't see enough emphasis on speed calming and lowering the speed limit and have safety as a byword with Cape May, so that we are known as the safety city. So things I'm thinking about are lowering speed limits, having signs on the two main entrances of Cape May about we are a safety city, and enjoy our town, drive slowly, drive safely. Things like that. In my opinion, our problem time is June to October, when the visitors come in. They're all for, which they probably do with a lot of their clients, educate the kids. Well, I don't think the school kids necessarily are the problem. Yeah, you're involved and you want to give them some training on being safe. But in my opinion, it's the crowds of people that are here, and then particularly bicyclists and automobiles going too fast, et cetera. And I just didn't see enough emphasis on that aspect, this is my personal opinion, of the report, what the city can do to make it safer, other than adding bike lanes, changing intersections, crosswalks, et cetera. I would just like to see more emphasis on the overall theme that Cape May is a safety-conscious city, and with, whether it be a banner or a sign, as people enter Cape May, that this is the way we want to do business and entertain our guests. That, now you have my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think they address a lot of that just across the board. What we're trying to do today is, in going through that report, see where we're seeing things missing or corrections. Right. And because we have to get back in 2 weeks, our final, they gave us their draft, now we have to add our information to their draft. And then they'll, at the next meeting, that's when it will be finalized, and then the grant, then from that point, they'll submit the information, or the next thing is to request a grant for implementation. So they need this part.
Right,
first.
so maybe the best thing, I mean, to me, where the grant money's going is the infrastructure projects. And if we just go through the ones that they have proposed, there were multiple comments, and I didn't read their minutes, I didn't see their minutes that they sent out, but
Yeah.
there were multiple comments about the projects that they chose and whether or not they were a good bang for the buck. Particularly, I'm speaking about the Seashore Road. But anyway, if we go through these and have a discussion on whether or not we feel these are the projects, because they're the ones they think can get grants.
Right.
Right, so I think a couple of them we all agree on, but some of them, I don't know if we agree on. And, you know, they may agree on it, and I'm not sure exactly how they came up with some of them. Somebody outside the meeting may have put a bug in their ear, I don't know.
Yeah, I know one thing, just an aside, is that there was no mention of the traffic circle.
Well, if you look at, yeah, they don't have it on here, but they do look at the
Which
beginning.
I guess is more specific, that's what they don't necessarily.
That capital project's already paid for. What we had, I had requested is that we, you know, since we already have the main bike lane coming from the West Cape May Bridge, Central Park, it would go around the roundabout. We would need to have Grant down to the lifeguard station
Into grant, right.
striped with bike lanes. It's because that's the extension of the bike, and we had talked about that. Now, on page, in the beginning of this, they actually have that as designated red, but it's not a project, if you will. So, I mean, from an I would say the best thing for us to do is go through what they said on infrastructure project. We may comment and say, hey, we don't think this is a great bang for the buck, $1.5 million to put sidewalks on Seashore Road, for example.
Yeah,
We may have other projects that we think have been brought up that are better suited and will affect more people and will get more bang for the buck. That's what my approach would be.
Yes, and I would agree with that. And the thing that I spent a lot of hours looking at this thing, a lot of hours for me anyway, maybe 3, 4, 5 hours. And I get it that putting together a grant application like this is probably pretty demanding, and I don't have the expertise to really evaluate what they're saying. But what George is saying is, let's keep it simple. Let's look at the infrastructure projects and see if, and again, I agree with the Seashore Road thing. Sidewalks, spending $1 million on sidewalks is not going to make that road much safer.
Now, there's a stretch of it would make sense.
Yes.
Like from where your son's office is, from the Florist at Simpson Road down to the West Cape May Borough, that extends the sidewalk from the West Cape May Borough. But beyond that,
Yes.
there's not a lot of people that live there. The bike lanes are perfectly fine, for me at least.
nice and wide.
They're wide.
Yes.
I mean, the issue there is, can we get the speed limit down?
Yes.
and it's also.
That doesn't cost us anything.
It's also a transition, once you get right past Simpsons, and that one
Where there's
area,
parking.
I think that's of main concentration. I think, can we all agree that the sidewalk on Seashore
From Stimson to the bridge is not really a
is,
project that's worthwhile.
right,
Right.
To succinctly put that.
right.
Kitchen. You want to turn it on?
If you ever gone down to Assateague, where Maryland meets Virginia, they've got similar bridges that they were talking about. This I heard about a year ago. It's maybe whispers, but a possible bike bridge over the canal. I just didn't know where it would be, whether it would be on Bay Shore, Shunpike, or even adjacent the existing bridge. So who knows what they're down the road thinking of a total connection.
That's huge.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge, of course.
We're trying to,
And that's not us, though. I'm just saying where
Tree.
the thinking is
Yes.
down the road.
Yeah, so, I mean, what Terry just said, we're going for the low-hanging fruit here right now, because this money doesn't go far.
No.
And so, but we have to, as I understand it from their write-up, and the discussion from the last meeting we had with them, we have to mention these projects, even if we're not going to implement them right away, in this grant application, because we can't stick them in after the fact.
But the grant applications are going to be specific to the project, so there'll be 6 different applications. It's not one big application. We're going to massively redo all of our infrastructure. It's one project at a time.
Right.
So to me, it's like you have a pool of money that we could apply for, which ones are going to most likely be successful versus which one has the most impact. You know, on where people live, how they use the roadways. That's why the one for Seashore I don't think works. I mean, that's why I said we should go through all these, and then maybe there's other ones that we didn't put. Like I noticed that when we asked them last time, they did add Stevens that already had Seagrove, but Stevens is basically an extension of
right,
Seagrove, and they added that, which is great.
Right.
We're happy about that.
Yeah, yeah.
all right, well, I have the minutes, I printed them out. I'm sorry I didn't get them out for anybody else. I can look at it, I can hand this to somebody. But this is in a nutshell of pretty much that report that they went through. It's much easier to read. So I can pull it out and we can discuss and say yay or nay. Is that okay? And then we can add to it. So the first thing is the hot spots. Can we all agree is that Bank Street, Decatur Street, and Lafayette is one hot spot. The second project is Ocean Street, Elmira, Leamy Avenue, Landis Avenue, from 6 on the north end of Columbia Avenue. What's the Columbia Avenue? Did anybody read that?
It's a little street in West Cape May. It doesn't go to Columbia.
It goes to 6th and Stewart.
Okay, so forget
No. Anybody
about
need a map?
north end.
'Cause
Yeah,
this
there
shows-
is no Columbia Avenue there.
Right, so that gets
That gets-
One of
knocked
these,
out.
Don't you? This shows it really well, too.
So it's just 2 Landis Avenue / Stewart Lane.
Right.
What is about this 6th Avenue?
Hey, I'll take my rubber.
That's the end of that's the terminus.
Okay,
So if you make the right on Landis and the left on Stewart, you dead end at 6th.
okay,
So that's the terminus.
okay, so that's the end, 6th Avenue.
Yes.
Third project,
Something that
which this
goes
is
over
interesting because
streets.
we haven't talked about it a lot, is the third project is Washington Street from Ocean Street to Sydney Avenue.
Yeah, you can certainly raise your hand, come to.
That really hasn't, that's been downgraded from various people not to concentrate on Washington Street, but I feel that we should.
So for $1.5 million, you're getting crosswalks and what else? They're going to remark the what do you call it, the parking spots. I just read what it was.
Right.
I don't know, I thought roads that we didn't really want bicycles on, we should put sharrows on.
But yeah,
The point is, people are gonna ride their bikes on there. So you're
Unless
thinking
we-
that,
Unless we can direct them to go down Michigan and over that way.
Indiana,
by the
yeah.
Wawa, and that way you're avoiding the traffic.
Okay.
Instead of contributing to the problem.
okay,
And that's the most expensive project, and I don't understand why it's so much money to do that.
Well, are we suggesting signs on Washington Street at various places, you know, dangerous bicycle ride? How are people going to know
Route signs.
not to ride their bike down Washington Street?
Route signs,
What?
routing signs.
Right, when we redo the map.
Well, I'm sorry, my guess is most people who ride their bikes down Washington Street don't look at the map.
I don't think we can tell people that they can't ride their bike on there.
Right.
We can tell them it's dangerous. You can't,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think we
it's
can say no bicycles
I don't
allowed.
think it's dangerous. We're
You don't think
entitled
it's
to the road.
dangerous riding a bike down Washington
No.
Street?
What the danger is a lot of people hug the bike, the parked cars, they hug them. They're not visible, you know. If you're a true biker and you want things to move, and knowing what you're talking about in New York City, you know, well, they have lanes. They'll have designated lanes. But all the statistics that we've learned is that you need to be visible. And when you're hugging the side, you've got that risk. So the most safe thing is to be in the middle of the road, visible. And we're at 20 miles per hour. But anyway, I've been beat down on that. I continue to get beat down on that. So we can move on.
I mean, let's finish that, because, I mean, the two parallel streets are Lafayette and Washington. Both of them are projects on here. Both of them are roads we don't want to encourage people to go down. So it seems like it's counterproductive, and I agree with the comments. I thought that the project was to get more people to use their bikes safely and pedestrians safely. If I say I'm going to go Ocean Street to Washington, to Cindy Street on Washington, I spend $1.5 million, how does that help with the project goals? They basically, I'm reading and so, we're going to fix the trees, so put up signs so trucks don't hit trees.
Those signs are already up there.
I'm reading it. This is what they say in the report.
Right.
And then the same thing with Lafayette. You know, if we could ban people off Lafayette, we would. We don't want to encourage them to go on, and what do they want to do for that one? Let's see.
I think that they mentioned that
They
because
said they were
it's
going to
county.
coordinate with the county
Yeah.
Right.
to make that's that's not a non-infrastructure
Improvement,
improvement.
Yeah.
Maybe
Right,
signage.
so they-
but it's one of the projects.
Yes. Well, not the primary project though, right?
Well, they
one
don't
of
go into detail because they have to consult with the county.
Okay.
All right, so should we suggest that eliminating the third project at Washington Street?
I don't want to,
Or-
I hate to do it, I hate to say that because I don't live in Cape May, I live in West Cape May, but I'm part of the team. I rely on everybody else to make it, I mean, I know the area obviously really well, but
Is it a
Ha-
hot spot?
is it why is it accomplishing the goals set out by this group? That's all. How's that?
Correct.
And the answer is,
No.
Have we looked at the statistics of incidents on Washington Street and Lafayette Street over the last 10 years?
Well, I've requested it for the last year, and we haven't gotten it yet. The other thing is, all this reports is up to 2021? All their statistics are up to through 2021.
Right.
Right.
Which is not indicative of what's happened in the last 3 years with COVID and more bikes on the road.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of handcuffed on that with statistics.
You know, I think the statistics can only get you so far
Agreed.
in the analysis of this project. We all know sitting here where the dangerous roads are. The statistics might not bear that out.
Right.
yeah, and we've told them that
Many
every
times.
meeting.
Every meeting.
So should we go ahead and eliminate that third project as a hotspot? It's not a hotspot.
I don't know, why don't we,
We recommend that the hotspots be,
well, can we just ask them why that's on there? I don't ever remember in the 8 meetings or whatever I've been to, that specific, one time we talked, because I remember that the tree thing was stuck in my mind. So but I never, the one comment we had was, hey, can we run the traffic one way on Washington?
Yes.
That was a discussion, but that's the only time that that was brought up as a discussion point, and now it's on now it's on one of the top 6 projects.
George, I think the reason that it is a hot spot
'Cause
is
it's
a lot of
history.
trucks hit trees coming into town, especially the past 2 years. And so there's been a lot of police reports that the trucks out, so.
Good point.
Bingo. and it
Can we
comes up.
Good
ban
point.
trucks, can we ban trucks on Washington? That would solve the problem completely. They have to come down Lafayette, except if they're making a delivery at Washington Inn.
Yeah, there you go.
It's solved.
Can they make that turn at, up towards the end where you have to do the jig? in and
Sydney?
out? Can they make that turn?
That's a good question.
I think they could. They have to swing wide,
By
but,
Sydney,
yeah,
Is that what
Yeah.
the name of that street is, Sydney?
yeah, that's Sydney.
yeah.
So the turn, you mean the right turn off of Lafayette?
And then to make the
Yeah,
left
you
on
have
Washington.
to.
And the left turn
that
off
little
of,
zigzag.
onto Washington Washington's 2 lanes going the same direction there.
Yeah, they should be able to make that.
Should be able to do that.
But then wouldn't that solve the
That's a-
tree problem?
They sure
And that
would.
makes it a lot safer for people crossing the street, no trucks.
And keeps
visibility.
Washington the pretty street that it is.
Well, and the reason all it was is Lafayette was under construction all year, so for the last 2 years, and they've all been going down Washington Street.
Or coming down Broadway.
All right,
Bingo.
so let's, so,
But just to comment on the trees on Washington are still, there's still an issue. I mean, you got the one picture, so that needs to be remediated irrespective. And I think the recommendation is a good one, but I think the trees still need to stay on within the township.
What we do in
perhaps.
West Cape May is we actually go around and technically it's the homeowner's responsibility to trim the tree, but if we feel it's a safety or a public health safety, we go and do it.
even if it's in the easement on the other,
Yeah.
the street side of the sidewalk, it's still theirs? Okay.
Yes.
All
We
right,
have a
so-
comment from the,
Hello, yes. Steve Bodner. I live on Pennsylvania Avenue, and I think the best way to get around Cape May is on a bike or walking. So I really commend the work that the committee is doing and appreciate that. So one of the ideas that you're talking about is to try to get traffic, obviously, off of Washington Street. And living on Pennsylvania, there's a lot of bike traffic. I think it's a great road to bike on in Cape May because it is wide. In addition, you're talking about the safety as far as not just the ability to have roads to cycle on, but also I think we need to address, and I think what you are addressing is safety in crossing streets as well. Question I have when we're talking about potential hotspots is where Michigan, Pennsylvania goes into Michigan, and then Michigan and Virginia come together right on Madison. That's an area that, in particular, if we're looking to get traffic on Pennsylvania to cross, to get it away from Washington Street, we would be moving more traffic down in that direction towards Pennsylvania, which I think would be tremendous if we're able to do that. My concern is just the safety in crossing over Madison. I'm just wondering if that has been identified as a potential hotspot for crossing over. I know the police department, they conduct enforcement patrols there to temper speed, but if you know if you're familiar with the roads and how they come together, the
Safe Route to School does address that.
and it's
Just the lines, they've got sharrows in there, the Pennsylvania Avenue should be lined, it just hasn't happened yet. Just recently, and we did bring it up, that intersection, we did bring it up to the city, and the city did work with the county to get the ramps, and there's a new crosswalk there, right on Madison, and where Michigan comes out, there's a new crosswalk right there. It is, and I play tennis, and it was one of the things of me routing to get back. That has vastly improved. It's not perfect, but just putting that crosswalk in there has helped, because then you can just jig over to Columbia Avenue. They still need to put sharrows, et cetera, on Madison, correct, for the safe routes to school?
yes.
A lot of this stuff hasn't been done, but it is,
So
I
can
use
I interrupt you just for a second, Steve?
Sure, yes.
So you're coming in late in the game here.
Right.
And we've had extensive conversations regarding all the things that you're mentioning.
Right.
So not to kind of cut you down, but we've got limited time.
Yeah.
I understand. I just wanted, I'm only mentioning it because I believe it is an area that, even though I know they have addressed it, it's better, but it's still candidly, it's a dangerous intersection. Part of it because of how it is. It's just such a wide area where Michigan, Virginia, and Madison come together in crossing over there. I'm just wondering if there isn't something else that can be done, really, to kind of address some of the traffic flow in that within that triangle right there.
I think what I found, unfortunately, is that the plans that these different entities, county and whatever, they do it, they don't really think outside the box, what I see. So right now, we're just making baby steps on working within their system, and I think we're slowly doing that.
Yeah, we've got proposals that we've made to this engineering group about crosswalks involving intersections like that. That particular intersection near Columbia, Michigan, Madison, Virginia, the streets don't line up for safe passage. The same thing happens at Perry and Congress, people coming out of the mall. So we've got those areas, and we're thinking about making boxes in there to you know, those kinds of things. So, yeah, that hasn't escaped our notice.
Okay. Then systemic project recommendations. Discuss the segment corridor analysis for lane departure and drowsy and distracted emphasis. That seems to be a big thing, but I think we can kind of skip over that. Installing 6-inch edge lines on enhancing parking spots, markings as low-cost systemic countermeasures on these segments. This is all analysis. Then we skip down to the sidewalk gaps, which I have that here on the map. So are we all in agreement, and I'll just write this in here too when we put this together, that between Simpsons and the bridge, that is at the bottom of our list? How do we word that?
That's pretty well stated.
Yeah, I think the impact,
Cost effective.
yeah, impact per resident, per usage. I mean, you're
Right.
talking a significant amount of money. But I would modify it, I wouldn't say eliminate it, I would say that the concern is Stimson to Central.
Right.
That
Yes.
corridor there, whether it's putting sidewalks in and eliminating parking there, which probably would make sense. And then that stretch would be a good, because that would extend from West Cape May Borough out to the little, the florist and the law office down at the corner.
Yeah,
And
I-
beyond that is just residential, rural residential.
Yeah.
And
No, I
that's to
agree.
keep it on that side of the road, the right side of the road coming in, to make it consistent all the way.
And it's already
Yeah,
fine on the
well,
other side. It's
yeah.
already, the other side of the
That's what I'm
street is
saying.
fine.
But it's that one little area, and I think, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of negative feedback from those residents about eliminating.
They all have driveways,
They do.
Yes, right.
that's all I can tell you.
So-
It's just a dangerous spot because bicyclists have to pop out
Now-
into the street.
See, I
Correct.
think that's a hot spot.
I agree with
It
you.
is, oh, it definitely is.
And we
So-
we have talked about that in the meeting,
We have.
but I don't see it on.
So if they're gonna, if we're gonna kind of push Washington Street aside, shall we replace it with this hotspot? If they want to have.
Well,
two
actually,
hotspots?
it technically already is on their project list. It's just,
Move it up.
we're saying we don't want another entire mile of sidewalks up to the bridge.
Right.
We're just saying, we just want this 500-yard stretch done, not from Stimson out to the bridge. And we don't want both sides of the, and they have, the project that they have on here is both sides of the street sidewalks. It already has a nice shoulder bike lane. I don't understand. It's a rural area.
What you-
I live on New England Road out there now, and in biking in and out of town all the time.
Right.
And it is completely safe from New England Road
Yeah.
up until you get
Yep.
closer to Ducky's there.
Yeah, and that's what we're.
And then all of a sudden, it turns into
I mean, they could
Very
consider putting a
dangerous
light,
area.
a left turn light there on Central, which might make sense. I mean, there's a way to do it, and you just run it during the
or a
season.
blinking red
Well,
or something.
And you add the firehouse is right there.
Correct.
So it
Yeah.
would be good to have a light there blinking. So anyway, back to these 3 hot spots. Can we eliminate Washington Street and put this in instead?
Well, it's not putting it instead because it's already on there.
Yeah, just move it up.
It's
Well,
all-
that's
Move it
what,
up
but it's a
as a
hot spot. They
cost-effective
listed
measure.
3 hot spots, and that was Bank Street, blah, blah, blah,
okay, we
Ocean
agree.
Street, and Washington Street. We want to take Washington Street off as a hot spot.
I'm not sure we take it off as a hotspot because it's still a dangerous road. But just their recommendation for $1 million or whatever.
$1.5 million for
Million
Washington.
and a half dollars, to me, is not a cost-effective way of using grant money.
Okay.
I think Washington Street is still going to be an issue, but I don't think
Well,
for
it
the
is.
purposes
There's a
of
lot
this
of
grant,
issues,
I
but
think,
I
I
don't
think
think
it's another discussion.
It's not at the top of the list.
What we're talking about is bikers are unsafe for that little stretch.
Right.
Yeah.
I ride it all the time. It's, all of a sudden, they're
Drivers
in the
are
road.
unsafe, walkers are unsafe, and bicyclists are unsafe.
Yes,
Okay.
and the percentage of automobile operators that are aware of the 4-foot passing rule and how to handle that are slim to none.
Right.
Is slim to none.
Right.
I mean, look.
I mean, I'd almost like, well, that's a county, and that's county. So it's gonna happen, right now, I'd just like some sort of quick fix. Just a couple of arrows and the sheriff that's putting them out in the street there.
Can I add one thing?
All right, so,
Can I add one thing about the Seashore Road? You might be forgetting that the first steps are on putting curbs in, but the second steps is right adjacent to curbs are the bike lanes. They'll be painted green, and that's the whole goal, is to connect lower with the island. It's this disconnect. It's a very, very busy road with bikes, many children up and down. It's amazing. It's safe, and it's pretty good, but as you get closer, it gets a little tighter, but it's a busy road, but the curbs, I mean, there must be a reason why they want to have curbs there, because when you put those lines up, it keeps it cleaner too, that bike lane. I'm not sure what their intent was. Because sometimes they put those bike lanes adjacent to the curb or in the middle, depending on how they design them. Those green stripes for bikes, they eventually paint them green,
yes.
and that's the whole.
Well, and that's where I think for a quick fix right now, but that's a whole county thing that we can't. I'm gonna ask one more time. Can we eliminate for the 3 hot spots that they have listed, that we move Washington Street to another less prioritized list? These hot spots are the ones that we really are interested in getting addressed. Can we add that area?
Can you say the 3 hot spots that they have in that list again, please?
Bank Street, Decatur,
Okay, so
Lafayette.
everybody agrees on that one?
Yep.
Yes, okay.
Second project is Ocean Street, Elmira, Leamy Avenue, Landis.
Does everybody agree on that one?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then the third is Washington Street, from Ocean Street to Sydney.
And we all agree that
That it's
the,
not a hot spot.
that it's not,
It's a
it's a hot,
concern.
it's a concern,
It's a
but
concern.
Maybe I keep thinking maybe I missed something that they put it there because we never really, I don't understand how it got there.
yeah, at this point, we just need to give them
I
the
need, give them a yeah, we're gonna
This
say
is
we.
why we're here.
Right, we need a clarification on
Appropriate
why they
feedback.
put it there.
But I think we're here to discuss this grant, correct? But there's other objectives for this committee beyond this grant, or no?
It's pretty much
It's
one
all
and
about
the
this
same.
grant?
This is what
One
we
of
work.
the
one and the same.
But it isn't, though, because if we're all acknowledging that Washington Street is an issue, but we're not going to put it into this grant, then we should.
Oh, no. It'll just be a low priority.
Which means it won't be funded, most likely.
Well, there's a lot of stuff. that-
Or look for other solutions.
Well, that's where I'm getting at, though. If there are we should put it in the so-called parking lot for other discussions outside of this immediate grant. Because I go back to what Jim said at the onset of the meeting. I love the idea of a safe Cape May umbrella, signage, policy, reinforcement, but it's probably not for this grant. But I don't
It
think we
is.
should
It's
lose.
addressed in the grant.
yes.
Oh, it
It's
is?
a-
Oh, I
it's
didn't
addressed in
know
the
that.
grant.
I didn't see it.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was just these,
It's amazing how much detail there is.
okay.
The other thing that,
Because I think there's some richness here that we don't want to lose. That's all I'm suggesting.
needless to say, that the city of Cape May, because of its tightness, has an inherent safety issue because of the narrow streets, all the parking, but this is a Cape Island
No doubt.
grant. And so I only think it's fair to address the Seashore Road thing anyway, because that's dangerous. I've been on it too many times. They're not-
We're talking about
It's a
from
hot
Stimson
spot.
to the,
Right.
to Central.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right,
That's a hot spot.
Hot spot.
yes.
Can we
So-
decide it's a hot spot?
Yeah,
Can we,
I
Is
certainly
everybody in
would.
agreement? to
It's the
that?
hottest one.
It's
and we
pretty hot.
can, and we can decide, and we can put it as number 3 on the list.
Yes,
Right.
okay. We're going to do that?
I would
And move on?
absolutely
Move on.
agree.
Do we need
All
a motion and a vote? I'll entertain a motion.
A second.
Who's in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
all right. The bike gaps, they talk about the bike gaps, which is pretty much on the map here. Trying to
They
get
are
to the
gonna-
second page
On
here.
this map we talked about, they are going to change where they have Bay Shore Road is really Stevens Street.
They've added it on here. It's actually one of the projects. Here you go.
Did they change it on?
Yeah, it's already on there. Here we go. Okay. It's actually 4th Stevens Seagrove.
Road,
Yeah.
right.
So those, for our West Cape May residents who want to go to the point, to the beach, hopefully we'll be able to fix those roads so that it's more user-friendly.
Yes.
So we can just comment to them to double check to make sure that they have.
It's on that map. Yeah, well, it's on, it's on,
That one, but it's not on.
yeah,
All right.
I don't know where they're pulling this from, but
All right. Oh, well, here we go. Okay, our proposals are listed in here. Okay, the gaps, okay, I'm sorry, going back. To the gaps, Broadway from Central Avenue to Seashore Road at the border of West Cape May and Lower Township. Broadway from Central, that's a gap. And I'm,
Yeah, that's what we've been talking
it's
about.
been,
Right.
yeah, so they have that as the project, so we
Right.
basically need to say, we'd like to pare that down to being very specifically from Stimson to Central, not from the bridge to Central.
Right.
We don't feel that this extension of Seashore Road is bang for the buck again.
right.
I would even say go past Central and go to the fire hall.
Yeah, there's actually, well, through Ducky's.
Yeah.
Because Ducky's is at Central, and then it's the fire hall, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because.
So to the
they're-
Barrel
they're-
Hall.
They have an exit that goes between them and the firehouse there. And that, it should be
To
included
the
in
fire
it.
hall, change Central to fire hall?
Yeah,
Yes, because there is no sidewalk in front of Ducky's, that's just,
Yeah, that's a little
Gravel.
weird, but I know that they did that because they didn't want cars. They put in those 2, 3, 4 little posts there.
Brilliant.
Because they didn't want cars to go into that lane.
And it works.
Right.
and people
Because
complain because they can't go by.
technically, you're not ever supposed to do that anyway. You're never supposed to take a right through the shoulder.
Yeah.
That's law.
Yeah, we need to do that at Leaming also. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
They're on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Right,
But we'll hit that on that other project.
okay. Park
and
Boulevard.
they do it at Stimson Lane. If you're making a left-hand turn going out of town on Stimson, everybody's coming around your right-hand side.
Okay, Park Boulevard from West Cape May, from West Perry Street to Grant Street. This is another gap, they're saying. And that's the one that you're really working on, okay, and it says that you're working, project team.
Yeah, we're putting sidewalks from Central and Broadway down to Leaming.
Okay.
That's a project we have a grant for. We're just trying to work out exactly how it's going to go.
So that's basically just Central and Park, you're saying?
Yeah, Central and Park, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And we're trying to extend it in front of the shops there too.
Okay, well, I think this comment is.
That'd be nice.
This comment is really about, this would be where the traffic circle would be, the Park Avenue from West Perry to Grant Street. So that area is where the circle is, proposed circle.
Yeah, so that goes back to what we talked about earlier. Once the roundabout is in, the bike path from wherever crosses the bridge, you go down, the path technically makes the left at Central, down Park, around the roundabout. We need to have something that extends the ability to ride your bike down Grant to the beach.
Right, and I think
And
that's,
it's actually in this report somewhere.
right, that's the gap. That's
Yeah, it's a
what we're
gap, and then we
talking
just
about.
need
And it's
sign
right
it.
there, and we
Yeah,
agree with
they-
that.
we agree with it. That's
strongly agree with that.
So anybody that lives or is coming from out of town can actually get to the beach that way.
Yeah.
And then we have the other beach one we could talk about in a second.
Right. West
Like
Perry
bridge.
Street from Park Boulevard to Broadway. What are they talking about? That's a gap. Oh, that's in front of the garage, in front of CVS, the garage.
The problem with.
They're talking about that. and
They're
I don't
talking,
know
all
what
right,
the
well, there's no, I'll tell you what the solution is. The solution is you come out you come out Congress to West Congress, and, because it's for people that want to go out Sunset Boulevard. When they do the Sunset Boulevard project, and I talked to the mayor, Mayor Mullick, about this. We actually went out and looked at it. It would be almost impossible to put a bike lane or something on Perry from Park
Oh, yeah.
to Broadway. So you need to send people out of town through either Grant or Congress. And then you cross into West Cape May into the foul track. You can make the right on First, and then you're right on Sunset, and there's going to be a bike path right there. And it's a boardwalk bike path that goes all the way to the nature center and then extends all the way out to the lighthouse, separate from the roadway.
And that's all going to be on the left side.
It'll be on the left side, so that's your connection.
Right.
It's a two-way bike path?
Yeah, it's 10 feet wide.
So it's the same thing like Washington.
Lot of
Street.
lumber.
We're trying to route people off
plastic.
of that.
Plastic.
We're trying to route people off that section, just like in Washington Street, we're trying to route them off of. So the solution would be
Give them an
Congress.
I would go, Congress, it makes sense. You're coming out of town, you go right out Congress.
They just have to cross Broadway, so I guess that's where we would ask, and then again, it's a county thing, is to make sure there's really good lines and crosswalks, particularly at that intersection
Yes.
on Broadway.
Because right now, what people do is they come the wrong way on Myrtle,
Yeah.
and then they come down Myrtle, and then you dead end at Broadway at Doc Mike's, and you're not allowed to make a left turn, but people do it anyway.
Sure.
And which is not safe. You should make a right turn and go down Second Street all the way out. But
Yeah.
Okay.
people live here know that.
Okay, so we'll bring that up.
I know we're short for time, and I noticed, you mentioned again, it's a multiple jurisdiction, Cape Island. And I know, I'm not sure if you talked about this, but we have something so fortunate. We have this abandoned rail train that goes from Canning House Road directly to the magnesite plant. And it crosses only two roads. It crosses Bayshore and Broadway. And there's no way that you guys can look into that to create that a bike path?
It's been
We've had
discussed.
discussions about this.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the resist? I mean, it's like, it's sitting there waiting to be, it's screaming
If you
bike
had enough
path.
money, you would say, all right, I want that path where the railroad tracks is, where they're running the rail Revolution Rail, and I want the path out to.
Oh, you could be heroes. You'd be on National Geographic.
Real simple.
Magazine, if you pull this off.
Would that be the greatest thing ever?
It's amazing.
Ride your bike, you never have to go.
I mean,
On the road.
you have it here, the rails there, the easements there. It's like,
But at this point, for
Oh, I
a
know.
quicker fix
oh, yeah.
is what we're
You
addressing.
can still do it down the road, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
down the
yeah.
road.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jack,
It's
my life's
on our
goal is to
radar.
get that done.
Well, that would be a great thing.
Okay, Elmira Street, this is just talking about gaps. Elmira Street from West Cape May, and the border at the creek on Elmira, going towards West Cape May, to Lafayette Street. They talk about a gap on that area between Venice and
The bridge.
Lafayette. Well, They're working on that now. I was
They're go-
hoping Paul would be here to.
Yeah, they're putting a sidewalk in. They're going to finish the other side of the street.
I know, that's going to be very creative around those.
I don't know how they're going around the poles, but whatever.
I was hoping for a report on that. But I think that's that big hot spot, again, talking about Washington Street and routing people off these dangerous areas, is that routing, as the gap is concerned, is that we put them over on Bank
Yes.
right now. You know,
Right, isn't that part of the one of the primary projects, going from 6th, Stewart, Landis, Leeming, Elmira into town? So that is all part of that particular project,
right.
which is already as one of the primary hotspots.
Well, this is the gaps. This is what.
Oh,
we're
they're just talking
about
specific,
now.
yeah, but
Right.
I think we hit it in that project.
But I guess my point is, just for the wording here, that they have it listed, is that, direct off onto Bank. Then it wouldn't be then it would not be a gap.
Correct.
Yes.
Is everybody in agreement to that?
Well, yeah, and the other thing is that then that gets handled by the Bank, Lafayette, Decatur.
Yeah,
Right,
that
and that's
just
where you end up,
segues
right.
into that.
Yeah, that's good.
Right,
So
right.
it's
Yeah,
just
that's
a-
good to mention. yeah.
flows
Okay.
right in. Yes.
Okay. Proposed projects, reconfiguring lanes by Acme on Ocean Street. I brought this up, a couple of these I brought it up.
Yeah, and they're still considering it.
And I won't even go into detail with this, but, you know, to keep it listed, because right where the bike shop is,
Yeah.
that's really bad where people are crossing.
That's the worst bike
arrows-
spot, it's worst spotted in town.
To me, the arrows are wrong. If you're coming from the beach, they have the straight through and the left-hand turn together, and then the right-hand turn.
Yeah.
They need to make that right-hand turn and straight through, and make the other one just a left-hand turn. So, but
It
that's.
also needs a sidewalk on the one side of the street, because
Yeah.
that solves the problem. You don't go on the bike side, you go on the other side,
Yes.
which is safe. And that- Yeah, exactly.
The other thing
I hate
was, you know, I'm not giving up on Contra
City can make
Lanes,
a lot of
just
money doing ticket
recommendation
shopping.
on, if it's possible, it's just we're
On
just
Decatur.
listing things. Well, on Hughes Street is a Contra Lane, because that's a big, a lot of people go the wrong way on that area. If it's possible to get a Contra Lane in there, I think that would be good. One-way bike lane from Mall to Beach. Okay, that's Jackson Street. And that was brought up years ago, but again, that's a safer way to go if they could just do, actually just put some sharrows in there, I guess. I don't think that a lane would work, but again, these are just small things to add to the list.
Right.
Just a question. On Hughes Street, they're suggesting a reverse lane, bicycle lane.
Contra lane.
How does that work?
Yeah, how does that?
Just parking on both sides of the street.
Well, you know,
Oh,
you
one
can-
side, one side.
You
Yeah,
can really tweak lanes, you know, a car lane can be 8 to 11 feet.
It's tight.
But the whole
It's a
thing
slow
is, that's a
street.
slow.
Yeah.
Cars are going slow there anyway. They're not racing through there.
It's not a through
So-
street, really.
No.
But bikers are always going, and it's the same thing on Myrtle Avenue.
Myrtle, yeah.
Yeah.
you know. But again, we're just throwing it out there.
Okay.
Just throwing
That's
it out
it.
there.
But there's enough room for a contra bike lane plus automobiles?
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And parking on,
There is,
two-
and that's what
parking on
I'm
both
saying.
sides of the
It
street?
just depends, regulation. I've seen areas where they'll tweak those bike lanes down to 3 feet.
Yeah, but a
No.
contra lane, you need even more. I'm just saying, if you have bike, you know,
Both-
Well, you
need
don't
6
always
feet.
have to have
You
that
need-
buffer. Like Beach Avenue has that buffer with the striped stuff. I'm just saying, I've seen it done, I'm just throwing it out there,
Yeah,
you know.
I think it's okay to put it on the on the wish list.
Okay.
Anybody agree, disagree?
Okay, this we already discussed, bicycle pedestrian crossing on Columbia Avenue on Madison. That's, that's already discussed. Crosswalks on Perry Street to Congress Street. That's by the mall, correct?
Yes.
That has somewhat been
Yes,
addressed,
yes, I mentioned it earlier. So that's
I think
along
it could
the
be done
same,
better, but they did some quick
the
fixes
same
and that was fine.
intersection as the Michigan, Virginia, Madison.
It's off skew, so-
All skewed.
So you need to go across and then cross over to the Congress
Yeah.
Hall.
And that's
the way it
very
should set
busy.
up.
And the
need to make
problem is the parking lot, the parking spots at the Victorian Motel.
Right.
That's the problem.
good point.
But again, just putting it on the
Crosswalks
list.
to parking lots don't work.
Crosswalks on Benton Avenue at Sewell and Howard Street. Okay, that's just by,
That's only when,
cell phone.
that's only when the Ramble's there.
Right,
Yeah, they just need better crosswalks there.
right. And I think a lot of that stuff is on the bike walk report
It
anyway.
is.
Yeah,
Which they, to their credit, they referenced quite a bit.
right,
Yeah.
right, since we were
They did look at it.
beating them up.
Yeah, they did look at master plans, bike walk, they looked at a whole bunch of things, which is great.
Okay, proposed projects that we've, crosswalks at the end of Broad Street at Bank. I think that's been done. Perry Street crosswalks at Carpenter Street. I keep getting confused where Perry Street is.
And next-
Perry's, it's
Congress-
the
Oh,
mall.
that's-
It's Carpenter's on the other side of the
Right,
mall.
right, that's what we were just
The
talking
beach side of
about.
the mall.
Crosswalks on Jackson Perry Street at Broad Street. That area has been addressed. That's the county did.
Yeah, they
all
already
that
have the
lines by
crosswalks.
Swain.
Yeah,
So
the brick,
that's,
fake brick thing.
so we'll just still keep it on. Bicycle lanes on Beach Avenue, that's been done. National, okay, they discussed, input on problem location received from the focus group meeting in the national night. Oh, they're talking about this thing, which we are addressing. I'm going to skip through that. Okay, so now the project team recommendations, and that's GPI, right? Mm-hmm. These are, now they're talking about the hotspots again. Lafayette Street, Bank, Decatur, then Ocean, Elmira, Lamy, and it's not Columbia Avenue. Washington Street,
Oh, you know what?
we're eliminating, go ahead.
Leaming used to be called Columbia Avenue. So that's probably why it's in there.
Okay, all right,
But it's not. It's actually
right,
to Sixth.
right, old, okay.
There you go. There's some trivia for you. Leaming was Columbia.
Washington Street, Ocean
I have it
Street
on my map.
to Sydney, okay, now we're adding another hotspot. So now we're talking about 6 hotspots here. Washington Street, Ocean Street to Sydney Avenue,
We're back to
Well,
we're back to those 6 projects again.
right.
We got rid of the Washington one. Right.
Right, we're getting rid of that. Ocean
And we're
Street.
shortening the
Okay,
seashore.
that's just Washington Street. Lighthouse Avenue, we've talked about that, correct?
Lighthouse, is that the one?
Seagrove,
And it's Stevens.
and it says East Lake Drive to Sunset, but we need Stevens in here.
And they actually have it's written in their their plan here, so.
Okay,
And at
okay,
Seagrove, they've already addressed things there at
Okay.
Seagrove and Lighthouse.
Right.
They put
That's
a
actually-
table, speed table. in.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking that when we go back with a report, rather than go through this big report with all the different sections, that we're just gonna add to these minutes. Because it's all included
Uh-huh,
in the report.
yep,
Okay.
It's a little bit easier.
keeps it simpler. This
to
is,
do it.
mm-hmm.
Okay. Seashore and Broadway,
We're-
we've already
We're
discussed
shrinking the scope of that
to
to
Simpson.
Stimson to Duckies.
Right,
Firehouse.
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 That's even better, Firehouse.
Lafayette Street, County Road, county coordination required.
Right.
So
A lot of that's
we're
already.
just kind of, because what's going to happen is, once we get the grant money for the next thing, then there's we're going to be gathering again, and they're going to be coming up proposals, and then we're going to be tweaking it just like we're doing it now,
Correct,
right?
correct.
Map,
Can I say something? I wasn't sure if you guys mentioned it, but there is supposedly an easement from St. John's behind the grammar school, the old
Yes.
baseball field, that wraps around to Madison, and they talked about that being another extension of getting people off the street.
Yeah, and the explanation was that it's not a road, it'll be a path,
A path.
and so that's why it's not in this report, but it's
But the easement exists. I
being
heard
worked
that.
on.
what I don't understand is, I thought the original plan, there was a road back there.
It was a
No,
golf
there's
course.
never a road, but there was a.
No,
bike-
the plan is that there was going to be a road back there, because
Bike path.
Bike
and
path.
that, But it's two different grants that they're going after. The first grant
Is the
does
path.
not include bike paths on it, it's just a walking trail. And then the second grant will have the money, because one of them has to do with the gas company,
Right.
a suit against them.
Right.
They're paying for the one section, but the other will be done. I
But
talked to-
wasn't there a partial paved road, like behind the dog park and everything, the proposal? There was never, like, in other words, we
There's a
had talked
parking-
about,
There was a parking lot back there.
not the big one in the front.
No.
No, there's one along.
one
So
in the
there
back.
never was a partial road that went,
I don't think so.
okay. So somewhere in there, we still want to note that, correct?
Yeah, and they noted it in the plan, I remember reading it, I can't tell you exactly where now, but I did read it. that-
Oh, you did read it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I talked to Lorraine Baldwin, and she said the reason that it's not, the bike path isn't on there now is because it's one grant that goes to that.
Okay.
And then when that's done, then they,
Yeah, it might be in the minutes of the meeting, but it's certainly been recorded.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
What else here? I guess we can keep going through all of this, but now I'm thinking maybe we should just jump back to people's comments.
Yeah, I think we've done a pretty good job distilling this.
Yeah, there's one thing on here that I've talked about a lot of different times in conjunction with, hey, we don't want people on Lafayette, we don't want people on Washington, let's make sure people have good alternative routes. We talked about Michigan, Indiana on that side. On getting people off Broadway, once you hit Leeming, or you hit Central, one of the things we keep trying to talk about is that the people on the west side of West Cape May all ride down Pacific Avenue, and we like to move the traffic from the depot onto Pacific, cross Sunset down First, but we need our little bridge across the creek. I don't see that anywhere on there.
No.
That's not-
And that is actually an infrastructure project that would alleviate an enormous amount of bike traffic off Broadway.
Right.
And it's just, to me, it's almost a no-brainer that we should do that, because then anybody that's coming down Broadway can get off Broadway, get in. Anybody that's coming from all these houses on the west side of West Cape May, instead of having to get onto Broadway, they go right across that little pedestrian bicycle bridge.
Is this across Sunset, the bridge?
No, the bridge would be across the creek.
it'd be parallel to.
West Grant, so if you look at your map, you'll see First Avenue.
Yeah,
First Avenue dead ends at West Grant, that's still West Cape May. We own the lot, it's actually a paper street at the corner there. It's one house in from the corner, it's directly across from First Street in Cape May.
got it.
And Mr. Dietrich said that if we can get the approvals, he'll give us a landing spot.
Okay,
So
First-
I'd like to see that as one of the projects.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, to me, that would be getting everybody off Broadway.
yeah, that solves, yeah.
Okay, so First Street is the last street, obviously, and then it's Second Street. So it's First Street just going all the way across. The bridge is just going to go all the way across to First Street. That's-
First to first, basically, it's first to first. And if when we had talked about how do you get out of center of Cape May and get out down onto the Sunset Path, if you're on Congress, if you're coming down Beach, you can just go to First and go across that bridge, and you're literally right at the start of the bike path when you hit Sunset.
How many feet is that area, George, between First and First, that lot there?
It's a standard-sized lot. The bridge span, it would depend on what the wetlands are. You might have to run curb to curb, so that's maybe 80 feet. It's probably more like 35,
I mean,
40.
is it all marshland, or is it,
It's a creek.
that whole section is wetland?
That's Cape Island Creek. That's what makes Cape May an island. It goes right here.
Now, George, there's a large section of that creek that's underground.
Well, first.
It comes out at Broadway,
Right.
and it comes
Wouldn't
back
it
out.
be easier to just put a big tube down there and cover it over and put a roof?
I think we're talking money-wise, you can fabricate the bridge off-site, bring it on a trailer, and drop it in with a crane. Also, you need to put the footers in, rather than putting a tunnel. If you want to put a beautiful stone bridge that's going to last for 500 years, that's cool, but we could do this. I actually looked all this stuff up. It takes about a week. It takes about a week to make the bridge.
How many feet?
That's what I was wondering.
I'd say 50 feet. 50 feet for a bridge,
To connect?
yes.
Okay.
But I haven't done the, I mean, we have a full-size lot. Cape May, if you cross, they have about a half of a lot. And then on the right, for probably the first 4 or 5 lots, there's no houses because it's all wet. So it'd be a nice little park on both sides.
Nice, very nice, great idea.
So we add that.
So I'd like to see that one be on our project list, because that's one we're going to need money for.
You've been talking about it, and now I understand what you're talking about finally, yeah.
And that actually helps the people coming from the center of Cape May to get out to the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Come down Congress or Grant, and you end up, you're literally right at, you make the right on First, or you can go down Beach Drive First. It all connects it. You don't have to go on Broadway, you don't have to go on Perry. So, to me, it's a no.
Just change some signage, and you could.
Yeah, exactly.
alternate
Bike route to
Right.
the lighthouse, boom.
How about Bob's idea from a couple of meetings ago about the bike path going out off of Central Avenue, out to
We
the
talked,
bridge?
that, we have, in the last meeting, I talked to the lower people, it's mostly in lower.
Yeah,
And we're supposed to set up a meeting with Ronnie Towns about that.
Right.
Because she told me just to submit a request, but I need lower to make the, and they seem to think that they said no. And I said, well, that maybe not.
No, actually, Mike Laffey is all for it.
I know he is, but he said that
We still need something from Cape May because they have the right.
right away around the water
That's-
treatment plant.
That's where the problem is
Yeah,
right
so
now.
we're gonna get together with her, so that's almost kind of an aside project.
And I saw her
okay, we're not including that.
concert, and she's all in.
Good. She is.
Do we have that mentioned in this report?
No, I didn't see it.
We'll have a chat.
Is this report part of also the boardwalk you're talking about, George? Or is it the same thing, the board, on Sunset Boulevard? Is this the same project? No, separate, yeah.
No, this is more a bike path thing.
This is the
Yeah.
electric
Is it by- And that's the electric company's
Right away.
property.
Right, and
Right
the
away.
issue right now is they're going to put those giant metal poles up like they just did, all the way up
the bridge there, yeah.
Park, which they're wooden now,
Here, you're not talking.
all the way out to the canal.
Wow.
So when they do that project, we want to have it all set up so we can, as soon as they're done, we can tie in the path. Because it'll all be cleared.
Yeah,
Still want it listed?
They listed, yeah.
How far out is that, do you
We
know?
won't put a bridge,
That
Project, they work so slowly, it's at least 2 years.
Let's give it a name. What's it
all
called?
these people.
That's called the Atlantic City Electric right-of-way.
ACE.
They're doing something. I was just out at Garrett, and they've got bulldozers going in there. It's.
Maybe they're
that
starting.
path is,
Yeah.
They're doing something.
Well,
They're
around
clearing it
the
all
big
out.
building there, yeah.
No, I was up at Garrett, and
Well,
if you look, parallel to where the little train things are going to, on the train line, just going, what is that, north of it, that easement, I guess that's that.
That's their easement,
right. And they're bulldozing,
Okay, so they're starting.
yeah.
George, you might look out,
Doesn't it start at that,
At Venice.
yes, at Venice? I mean, that's where it's
That's where
originating.
they're working
Yeah, that's
right
the
now as we
Yeah.
speak.
Oh, no, I'm talking about up at
Yeah,
Garrett.
yeah, I know what you're
I'm
talking about.
up at Garrett.
Yeah, well, but Garrett's just north of that.
So
Right.
Jack, to address
you could possibly get like a covered bridge. It almost be a covered bridge as well. With that bike path you're talking
yeah.
about. And that'd be like Cape May's first covered bridge, woo! That'd be someplace.
I was
An
gonna-
old historical one they
I was
want to
gonna
tear
put a
down.
statue of you on it, Jack.
No, not me. Oh, you put
But
yourself.
it'll be interesting to see if they're starting that now.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Right in front of the Cape May Public Works, there's nothing, that's still messy and everything.
Well, they just did a little,
nothing-
they just ran a pipe there,
Yeah.
so they just dug that up.
No, but I'm still, yeah.
Okay,
I
so
don't see-
let's put it in
anyway,
there.
yeah,
Let's keep
Yeah.
focused. We got
Okay.
15 minutes.
I got it.
What, I think, because I've got to get out of here in a half hour, less than a half hour. I would like to, Hillary went and made comments. And she couldn't be here today, but I just, and we probably is a repeat, but I just want to go through this, go through your comments, anybody that's written anything up. She agrees total approve of project emphasis on Lafayette Bank, Decatur, approve, talking about speed humps and bumps, that is listed in there somewhere, it is listed.
Yeah, it's on page 20.
And the considerations on Seagrove and Stevens, that is listed. Carving out walking shoulders if sidewalks are deemed too urban for a rural area. That's mentioned on page 23 in the report. She's done a really good job here. I don't see the need to include the sidewalk on Seashore, blah, blah. We've already agreed to that. Rental industry, there's cause for overcrowding of cars. This forces walkers out into the street, which is unsafe. Creative solutions. I don't know if this is, well, we're still talking about around Broad and Central, which we discussed. Washington Street, she mentions removing parking. That's never going to happen. Endorsement of project, implement island-wide signage and wayfinding. She'd hope to see endorsement of a project to implement island-wide signage and wayfaring, plus mapping additions for the cell phones. The cell phones was not mentioned. The QR code,
Right.
that's the QR code, correct? So we want to add that. That's not mentioned.
Yes, and that would be a systemic,
Okay. Okay, that's about it for her. Was there anything specific, Jeff, that you wanted to bring up that we haven't discussed?
well, I mean, some of this is picayune, but for instance, in one of the maps, I think it was one of the figures 4-5, they mention County Road 622, which is Pittsburgh and Texas. Why do they have to call it that? I don't know,
Because they don't live here.
because they don't live here, right?
So you're just asking for a clarification?
Yeah, I thought their maps could have been a lot better, in general.
Okay, so,
But but you look at one map and you don't see anything that orients you, and then about 4 or 5 pages later in the report, then all of a sudden, they have it in detail. So I had to cross off some of my complaints.
okay.
They had a speed limit range of 25 to 35 on page 20. I don't know if you have that there.
Yeah, that's incorrect.
Yeah, and so that was incorrect. In the appendix, our bike committee member listing is incorrect.
Right, I noted that, too.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. And that's pretty much it.
One thing that was mentioned was speed cushions. That was a new one to me.
It's just a traffic mitigation thing, so you could put speed bumps, you
can-
could speed tables,
So
or,
is that
or,
just a generic
yeah, it's
term
actually on
for-
page 28.
But they probably
Here's the
can be
pictures.
put down and
Yeah,
taken up.
it's cushions. I just had never heard that term before.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me, because they mentioned that in, somewhere did I read that you know, we need these speed bumps in the summer, but we don't need them in the winter.
Sunset Boulevards has 3 in their plan, that's the tables, which
Yeah,
is
tables.
awesome.
Yeah, it's great,
And we want to put them on Stevens too,
yeah.
if we redo that. And on Sixth, which is another route out of town.
Do you have them going year-round or just in the,
The tables are permanent,
they are permanent, okay.
yeah. It's just like the ones they have in the Point.
Yep.
You know, the other thing and here's another map comment, they don't define their color coding in these maps.
You have to guess.
You have to guess.
Green means go,
They've
red
got
means
green,
stop.
yellow,
Yellow
whatever,
means proceed with caution.
and so
Yeah,
that,
they have it on this one.
that one, but in their report that they sent us, most of the color schemes, I mean, if they want to be accurate, they're just not delineated, that's all. I mean, for me, I'm looking, what does this mean? What does that mean? And that's all.
One new thing I wanted to, which we didn't talk about, was, does everybody know where Page Street is?
Yep.
They've made that, years ago, they made it one-way. It's a little lane. It's kind of parallel to over by. Keene.
Page and Pearl.
I think we need to get rid of that.
Get rid of the street?
No, get rid of the, it's ridiculous, because then,
Get
It's
on.
not wide enough for 2 cars to go.
Man, how many cars a day go down it?
Not many.
5?
It's mostly
But
pedestrians.
there are some
Oh, I
smaller
see it.
streets, aren't there? I mean,
Pearl is one way,
it
right
just
next
makes
to
it
it.
difficult for bikers again. And if we do something with Hugh Street, then I guess at the time, we'll just, when we start talking about if we ever get to the possibility of a country lane on Hughes, then we can tie in with Page Street. This is, anyway.
Page for my runs.
Yeah, correction on speed limits, I saw that. Bob, did you have anything to comment to? So, there was some mention about cartooning.
They were like,
There was cartooning in there?
What'd you say?
Cartooning,
You didn't
if it
read
was,
Okay.
I blew by it.
that? I don't know, I'm kind of jumping through this, kind of, but,
Yeah, no, I think we've got it. I think
right.
we've
And
got
now
the
it's a
important-
matter of writing it up.
Yeah. And what freedom you have in writing it up.
Yeah. I might have to, well, I'll
send
see what
it out and
happens.
let us approve it.
I might have to sit down with somebody and
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
egg me on, because I have to go to Florida next week again. and
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I did write up the minutes, but my minutes basically said, see GPI's minutes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's an efficient use of your time.
Well,
I
they,
need
I mean, they were so darn thorough, it was amazing.
Right, which we didn't get till, yesterday, but can we make a motion to approve those minutes?
Yes, do I hear a motion?
Okay.
Okay.
Aye.
it was- Aye, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great.
I don't know if we forgot anything else, but,
Steve, would you consider being a member?
He's running for election.
yes, do you have secretarial skills?
Yeah, come, we're the second Wednesday of the month at 9:30, and you see what we do now. And, you know, and you get a chance to influence what's happening. Yeah. Yeah. No, so thanks for coming, and let us know. Yeah. We lost some members, and so it's good to have a little bit more diverse input, and we welcome yours. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn?
We have a motion to adjourn?
Yep. Second.
Second, all in favor, aye?